You're good to go, Harry.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Harry Morgan, and I work in the social impact team at Microsoft. On a daily basis, that means working with nonprofits, with community groups, with partners such as ERSA, partners such as the Department for Work and Pensions, and many others to make sure that everybody gets to benefit from the fast-moving digital economy. I did say I put in the chat there if you have any perspectives on AI, feeling good about it, scared, maybe you've tried it a little bit, it'd be great to get some perspectives in there just to kind of get a pulse of how everybody's feeling and thinking about the development of generative AI over the last year or so. Okay, so I say that, and it's good to get some different perspectives like what we got already. Exciting, but need to be careful, both nervous and excited. Absolutely. And I think that talks very much to some of the core themes of what we'll discuss today, and unsure of how to use it. Absolutely. That's the kind of the same as me, as much as I'm learning. So AI, a big topic for many of us in our daily life and in daily work. And we know that AI, like every technology and every advancement, can both be a tool and a weapon. And when created with responsible and ethical frameworks around it, there is absolutely great potential. So at Microsoft, we've seen many ways, many remarkable ways, in fact, how nonprofits in particular, and have been helping to use AI to help job seekers get into jobs and help to solve some of society's toughest challenges. In Ireland, for example, we've seen it embedded into an assistive technology passport to help people with disabilities have a more independent life. With Age UK, leading charity for older people in the UK, they've also launched a service where they're able to use AI to help flag when an elderly person might be at risk of being exploited by a scam and reducing that potential. And there's lots of amazing examples of how AI and the development of AI in the last year are being used for good. AI is also helping many of us in our day-to-day in a few ways. First off, enhanced efficiency, helping to automate some of those potentially more repetitive tasks, freeing up more time for some strategic or creative work, perhaps removing some of those pieces of work that feels like drudgery, feels quite time consuming. I know I'm using it on a regular basis to kind of help to summarize some of my thoughts and help to have my own little kind of person to kind of help to define kind of how I'm doing a script or something like that. Personalization is another way. So helping to tailor experiences. So it could be customer interactions or perhaps learning paths. So I'll share shortly about how we're using AI within Microsoft to help to simplify the learning experience for job seekers across the country. Predictive insights is another way. So how do we use AI to analyze that data, to anticipate trends, to inform decision making, enabling all of us to be insight led and find the insights that might support existing work that we're doing. And then also skill augmentation. What are the other skills that we need to be thinking about honing? And we'll talk a little bit about that shortly as well. Those human skills, empathy, creativity, consciousness. And for example, I've got an example here, putting my creativity with the power of AI to create this image on here. Doesn't look much like me on there, but using a tool that we have, Microsoft Designer, to create what this presentation could look like if we were in person. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about some insights that we're seeing around AI. Opportunities for Microsoft and LinkedIn for you and for any career seekers that you're working with to build AI skills, the knowledge, and also the confidence to harness and work with artificial intelligence. And then I'm also going to be handing over to our head of employee learning at Microsoft UK, Joe Swales, who is going to be sharing some top tips and tricks that you can start to leverage today to get hands-on with AI. Because one of the key things around generative AI is you've just got to play with it. You've just got to use it. You've just got to get hands-on and see and think about how you use it, learn with it, improve it, etc. And then we'll have lots of time, I'm sure, for questions. So please do feel free to put any questions into the chat. There's a few people here from Microsoft today who can answer, and I know Jack is going to do a great job of kind of sharing them at regular points throughout this call. So if I may, I'm going to ground us a little bit and the work that Microsoft is doing around AI skilling in the context of Microsoft as a business. So operating in almost every country around the world, and the work that's gone on over the last couple of years has been or the last year or so has really been focusing on how Microsoft can meet this AI moment globally ever since ChatGPT was launched in November last year. But all of this is fundamentally grounded in Microsoft's mission, which is about empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And this is something that is very different from the previous Microsoft mission, which was something like, putting a desk, a computer and mouse on every single desk in every table, in every office. This is really about how do we empower and enable every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, whatever achieving more means for them and means for you. And in the context of the work that many of you are doing, in the context of the work that I do in my role, working with nonprofits, with community groups, and with society as a whole, the key word for me in that mission statement is the every piece. So it's all about how do we empower every person to have the skills, the knowledge, the opportunity to succeed in the digital economy. So as digital transformation is picking up from COVID and then going into this new AI economy, how do we make sure that we're bringing everybody along that journey, especially those most at risk of being left behind? That is some of the stuff I'll share in this session is all around kind of the insights and opportunities that you can land today, both for yourself, but also for anybody that you are working with or supporting on their employment journey. But just as a side note, Microsoft, we also work really closely with a range of strategic nonprofits. We work with Generation, Catch 22, Printers Trust, and Breaking Barriers, as well as ERSA, DWP, and many others, to really think about how do we reach as many people as possible to help them gain the skills, knowledge, and opportunity to succeed in the digital economy. Now, going into why is this important? We know from a range of different data and insights that now and in the future, more jobs will require digital skills and AI fluency. And by AI fluency, I think we all recognize, well, I recognize that AI is a highly, to have AI skills, it can be kind of AI technical skills, deep skills around data analysis, etc. But actually the AI fluency piece pulls it back into the knowledge and understanding of AI. What does responsible AI look like? What are the pitfalls? What are the opportunities? So building that fluency around what the potential is with artificial intelligence. In terms of how we operate, this is a good example of how we are operating. We do not do this work alone. To have the greatest impact that we can have, Microsoft works really closely with the public sector, with local governments, councils, with government bodies, like I mentioned, such as DWP. We work closely with other customers and partners in the private sector. We work really closely around nonprofits and NGOs, and we work with government stakeholders more broadly to really make sure that we are all supporting everybody as best we can into jobs and into careers. In terms of how we deliver this, and this is where it comes into kind of some of the resources and courses that you will be able to leverage. Microsoft Skills Commitment is really about how do we help millions of people to build the skills needed for the AI economy. In the UK, we have a specific commitment called Get On, and Get On is all about how do we help 2.5 million people build skills for the AI economy. And then once we have done that, how do we then help connect 300,000 to tech job opportunities? The AI skills thing is really, really interesting because we've found that AI skills are increasingly in demand. This is a chart from late last year, 2023, from the World Economic Forum, that shows that in terms of the top skills that employers are looking for globally from now until 2027, number 3 is AI and big data. So that is, one of the core things. Admittedly, there you can see number one priority. And the number one priority, it's the number one priority for companies with more than 50,000 employees. So number 3. But the thing that I took from this in particular is that we know that AI understanding, AI fluency is critical. But if you have a look at skill number one, number two, analytical thinking, creative thinking, number four, leadership and social influence, number five, resilience, flexibility, and agility, it's number six, number one, two, three, four, six, yes, curiosity and lifelong learning. These are all skills that historically known as perhaps soft skills. I like to think of them as human skills or professional skills. And they are critical skills that we can all hone regardless of whether we are doing a technical job or helping people into roles in technology or not. Because fundamentally, these are all skills that we are harnessing to thrive alongside AI, and ones that we have more opportunity to harness ourselves too. So we can see here that 82% of leaders say that their employees will need new skills to be prepared for the growth of AI. But that's not just the hard technical skills. It's actually a range of different skills that takes us from this paradigm shift that we've had with AI. It used to be, when we think about AI being on our phones and recommending songs or videos to us, AI, Microsoft has coined this kind of great saying that I love. It's gone from autopilot and just being there with us to actually going to co-pilot, and actually something that we can work really closely with to help enable us in the work that we are doing and the work and how we're supporting people. So our approach then, taking that into account, is all about how do we help to build that holistic view and the holistic support that anybody may need to help them gain AI skills or skills to the AI economy and get into jobs. The comprehensive approach that we have includes three core areas supported by the groups that I mentioned previously. So employers, governments, nonprofits, and some insights we have too. We're talking about free access to learning content that has been built with LinkedIn, who are part of Microsoft, to make sure that we're equipping everybody with the right skills that they need for the AI economy. We're then enabling people to gain certificates, so new professional certificates that demonstrate to employers that commitment to a learning path. But then it's also about what are the tools and support that we can use to help learners get hired once they have gained those new skills. What that really looks like in practice is are 10 different learning paths. So parking kind of the AI skills piece specifically for a second, since the pandemic, we have had live courses that previously were paid for, completely unlocked, and they are aligned to jobs that are in demand. So jobs that we know have a credible living wage, they have opportunities for progression, they provide people with a range and a broad breadth of different skills. And the ones that we've looked at is around project manager, business analyst, administrative professional, data analyst, software developer, a range of jobs that are considered tech jobs, but also jobs that are considered tech-enabled jobs. Because fundamentally, as I heard at an event yesterday, every role is in some way has got technology in it. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what industry you're working in, there is some form of tech and therefore tech skills that is needed, even if it is just collaborating online or collaborating on a shared document. Now, where does that then take us? Because these are all kind of courses that were available to align to specific in-demand roles. But one of the core things that we felt that we had to deliver and then support as many people with as we could was a new generative AI pathway to build in-demand skills. And we've had thousands of people go through this. It's a completely free course. And it's a course that isn't just about helping to build kind of an understanding about AI as a fundamental topic, but actually it's a really good grounding for anybody wanting to learn about what AI is, what generative AI is, and how that differs. How we're as a society, how we can adapt to this new AI wave, what we want to think about when we're talking about responsible and ethical AI and what that might look like. There's pieces in there around if you're a business leader, what might you need to do to create a culture in which you are utilizing AI in the most effective way. And then the core part of that is once you have completed that generative AI learning path, you earn a certificate, a careers essential certificate, industry endorsed by Microsoft and LinkedIn, that we're finding many job seekers are then adding to their LinkedIn profiles or their portfolios or their CVs to evidence how they are interested and knowledgeable about AI. For those of you who said you were nervous and excited, objectively, I would encourage you to kind of have a look at this course because it does kind of give a really broad overview, not just from a Microsoft perspective, but just in general around kind of what AI is and what the pitfalls and what the opportunities are. But we're seeing many people then share that certificate onto their LinkedIn profile. I will tease everybody here. This is the first time I've mentioned this. There is actually a part two to this coming out hopefully tomorrow, which is also going to go into a little bit more detail around then what are the skills you might want to hone. So think of this course that we have now around that holistic view of what responsible AI is, what the opportunity is with AI, and gives you kind of some of the toolkit things in your toolkit to have that conversation. The next course will have some kind of great insights to think about how do you build prompt engineering skills and how do you develop that specific AI skill set that we mentioned at the start. For the full completion of kind of the courses that are available, AI is fundamentally in every single role in some capacity, small amounts or large amounts. And regardless of what role job seekers are going into, or potentially what you're looking to do in your own careers, there are a range of different pathways that are available as well around digital literacy and productivity, thinking about computer basics, collaborating online. What does that look like? Soft skills as well. So, how do we enable everybody to build those critical professional skills, emotional intelligence, resilience, communication and listening skills, and then also entrepreneurship. So in full, this is kind of an offering that is available today. And for anybody on this call listening in, but also for anybody who is interested in supporting career seekers that you're working with. As an example, this is the certificate you earn, which shows endorsement from Microsoft and LinkedIn. The learning journey that you then have there varies based on who you are, what your learner or what you're personally interested in. So don't just see this as kind of one course that you go on that may take 9 to 10 hours. It may take a little bit longer depending on how long you go into it. They are really thorough courses, but one of the things that we seek to drive within the company at Microsoft is this culture of lifelong learning. Just this month at Microsoft, there is a AI co-pilot month where everybody is going into some deep learning throughout the course of the month to really think about how do they build their own AI skills. But this slide here kind of shows that even if you were to start with the foundational skills piece, so potentially it's around enhancing how you collaborate online. Fantastic. There is AI and AI skills that you will learn, or overview that you will learn through that. You can then progress onto one of the careers essential certificates around administrative professional careers. You then have the opportunity to continue learning on LinkedIn Learning. You can use those resources that I'll share in a second to prepare for interviews. And then you can also use LinkedIn to help you get a job. But actually, if you have that basic skill, not basic, if you have that skill set already in terms of the tech fundamentals, you might start with the generative AI skills piece to have that overview of kind of what the latest is on generative AI. Then use that in your careers essential certificate for systems administration. But then you can follow on with that, going on to earning a Microsoft certification, which is an industry recognized certificate that you can earn through, and you have to sit an exam to do it, but it shows and it attests that commitment to learning. So whatever your learning journey is, we recognize that everybody's learning journey is different, and we're really supporting everybody to benefit from those courses and resources and tailor their learning journey in the most effective way. This is the final slide I'm going to share just before handing over to Joe. But perhaps actually, if there's some questions that have come in, Jack, maybe we could go through that just before we go into Joe's top tips. But the final two things I'm going to share in terms of enabling using AI skills and how AI can be used for good. AI is being used today in action to help people gain jobs. The two core examples I'm going to share for you here is an AI powered interview tool. So one of the scenarios that we find with many job seekers and many of the communities that we're working with is that there isn't always the opportunity to practice interviews with a family member or a friend, or potentially because you don't necessarily have the confidence all the time to practice that interview pre the big day. So the AI-powered interview tool, which is on opportunities.linkedin.com, the same website as the courses previously, is really enabling anybody to share their perspectives. Sorry, not share perspectives, to share their questions. It gives a recommendation of certain questions you might wish to ask an interview. So, or you might get asked by an interviewer. So, tell me about yourself, or what's one of your biggest strengths, or that kind of thing. You're then able to, using the camera on your laptop, or you can type it out, give an answer, and then you can get AI powered feedback in terms of the speed, the tone, the filler words you might have used, different things you might want to say. And then you can also, if you wanted to and you felt comfortable doing it, share your answer with somebody in your network to get that further feedback. The careers co-pilot is another useful thing that we have thought about for quite a long time, because ultimately one of the challenges around learning skills and learning AI skills is that people feel paralyzed by choice. There is so much stuff out there, and it's hard to understand where to go to, what to do, which course is better than this one, what's right for me, what suits my learning style, which program is based in Manchester, not London. There are so many different questions to consider. And I'm sure many of you in the roles that you're doing kind of feel that in terms of where do you recommend. So to start to simplify this, we're piloting the connection between generative AI and learning through this Careers Copilot. Now, the Careers Copilot ultimately is a tool that enables you to put in any question that you might have around your learning. So if this example is, what does a data analyst do? And get answers, prompts back that help you to advance your exploration. You can click on certain courses that are available and then look at the boot camp or the learning opportunities that are available there. You can also use it to source learning material that might be right for you. So the question that's just been asked is, what training is available to help me get into data analysis? Whilst you'll get a really thorough answer in seconds, you can also then get referred on to Microsoft Learn to think about your introduction, in this case, to data analysis. You can then go one step further and ask, if you wanted to do an apprenticeship, or if you wanted to do a boot camp, or if you wanted to be referred on to a program such as the ones we have with Catch 22 or otherwise, which ones are based in London, which ones start next week, which ones would be right for me based on how I'm learning. Now, the tool itself is learning and it's evolving as AI and the as good as the data is behind it. But we're really excited by the potential of this tool to help simplify the experience for job seekers to find the courses, resources, and the jobs opportunities that they're looking for, but also to help employment advisors, work coaches, etc., help to discover in those time pressured moments, for example, the 10-minute meetings that happen with clients at the job centre, help to find the resources that are most effective for the conversations that they're having. So two examples there. And before I hand over to Joe Swells, our head of employee learning, who's going to go through some top tips and tricks that you can do to get hands-on with AI and build AI skills and understanding yourself, I'm going to pause for any questions. So, Jack, would you like to
Yeah,
through our
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Harry. We haven't had any in the chat. We have had one person comment that they've used one of your pathways and said that it was brilliant. But I can see that Megan has just put her hand up. So Megan, please come in.
Hi. So I work for a company called Durham Enable. We're part of Durham County Council local authority. And our sort of mission is to help people with disabilities, autism, and additional needs into paid employment. So looking at some of the courses that you said there, I'm just wondering, things like the example that you gave where you were sort of typed in where would I go or on the get into
Yeah.
tech website, that massive chunk of text that came up, and obviously, yeah, that's AI generated. Are there any things that are going on in terms of making things more accessible? Because to an autistic adult, you throw that much text in front of them and it's game over kind of thing.
Megan, that is a brilliant point. And I think that's one thing that we can take back in terms of improving the AI so it's more inclusive, but also improving the other ways and other methods that we're able to make sure that the content that we're sharing is completely accessible. Microsoft is deeply committed to inclusion by design, making sure that we are supporting everybody, regardless of whether it's a temporary, a physical, permanent disability, to succeed. And there's a range of different programs we have in place in the UK and across the world, not just to help individuals, but also to help companies be a more inclusive and disability confident employer. So in that, my answer really is thank you for the flag and thank you for helping us to improve that, because we can definitely take that back and make sure that we improve it. But we can also share some more information around our broader commitment to disability inclusion. So thank you, Megan.
So we've had a question from Jitendra in the chat, and that's what different careers can one opt for and prepare for in AI?
Great question. I might actually throw that to Joe, who is far more experienced than I in kind of going through that, because Joe, I think it actually falls into your. Are you here, Joe?
Yes, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I will. I think it's a perfect time to get Joe in. So thank you very much for your question. Joe, would you like to kick off without putting you on the spot too much? Would you have an answer for that one?
Yeah, and I think it depends on what you mean by AI and what you mean by career. So I would argue that every career will have an element of AI in it that we need to prepare for, be it that how we perform our roles, what apps we're using, and how we're interrogating AI. If you're thinking more of a technology perspective, you're looking at data science, you're looking at, the background ways that we program machine learning and the algorithms. So yes is the answer. I think the challenge here is, what's the real question? Is it you want to get into developing it and testing it and programming it and allowing it to learn? Or do you just want to work with it to improve how you're being productive in your roles? Because both are perfectly valid as careers.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe.
Sorry,
If
Harry,
that
just
helps,
quickly.
Jitendra.
Just before we move on to the next session, we've had a good question from Heather in the chat, which is about I think for the sort of second, other than the interview tool, the sort of co-pilot sort of signposting technology, basically for providers, what can they be doing to make sure that their programs are sort of appearing in that, I suppose?
SEO,
I know obviously this.
yeah, it's a good question. I'm going to share some, as whilst Joe's speaking, I'm going to share some kind of resources that we have in terms of AI and marketing, which I think is that question is in particular. So I will absolutely kind of share some pieces in there, but there is lots of kind of new developments in terms of how AI is being used to enable businesses to show up on the rankings, not least because Bing, Microsoft search engine, but also Google and others are doing the same thing, are really thinking about how generative AI is being added into there. So we're actually shaking up the search game a little bit more. So it's not just kind of those pages of the kind of links that we're all very much used to. Actually, how can we create a more tailored experience? So Heather, I'll find some links while Joe's speaking, and put it into chat.
Right, well, I think that's quite a good segue over to you, Joe. So I'll give you the floor.
Okay, thanks very much. And I hope everybody's having a good afternoon. So I'm actually in the middle of our co-pilot afternoon, hence I don't always wear a Microsoft t-shirt, but thanks to Harry, I now have a brand new name, the Joe Pilot. And I think the thing about what I do for our employees applies more broadly as well. It's all about you can do learning about AI, you can read about AI, you can see how industries and use cases are working, but unless you get your hands dirty, that's when the real learning occurs, and that's when you really start to understand how to interact. I'm also a great advocate for the soft skills side of things, to mirror the advances in technology so that actually we can communicate better. That means we can communicate better with AI, and we can help that learn more effectively and more inclusively, as Megan pointed out. And just to come back on the kind of accessibility piece, the use of generative AI specifically really excites me in this area. Because in the prompts we're using, we can ask it to respond to us in a certain way. So that could be in shorter sentences, and I can't cover the multitude of scenarios for accessibility, but we can ask it to respond in that way in most cases. I work very closely with one of our accessibility leads in the UK who is autistic, and he says it's great for creating because he doesn't have to worry about what he's saying and the tone. He can get Copilot and he can work with that to help him understand that, or even, for the information coming back. So we still have, I think, a way to go, but I think the opportunity for accessibility in AI and generative AI is big. We just need to make sure we're pushing it and focused on it. Thanks for the hearts. Okay, what I wanted to do, and Harry, are you driving? If you could drive, and then I'll share my screen when I come to some demos later on. I just wanted to go through, I see some of you in the chat are actually using generative AI, be it ChatGPT or Copilot, which is great. And I think everybody goes through a bump in the road, and I know I certainly did, even though I'm kind of looking at our employees and understanding what to offer them in terms of learning. AI was the big shiny thing that was over there, and it was great, apparently. And then all of a sudden I had to use it, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to interact with it. What can it do? What do I need it for? So there is that learning curve, and it's all about mindset, and it's all about changing our habits. So those are really important things when you come to having discussions with people about building AI skills. That has to be part of it as well. It's not just like using a spade. It does one thing. You have to understand, okay, what can it help me with? How do I need to adjust how I structure my day, how I approach using technology. The other analogy I use, rightly or wrongly, so apologies, is that I treat AI like a toddler. It's a very intelligent toddler, but actually you have to give it lots of information to make it do what you want it to do. So it can't read my mind yet. Not that we're going that way. I don't have any insider information, but I have to think about, if I just give it one instruction, it's going to try and satisfy what I'm asking for as best I can. The more detail I can give it, and the more scenario driven or data or specifics about how I want the output, the more efficient it's going to be. And I think that's part of the hump in the road for many people, because we're used to technology is press a button, get it faster. Actually, with AI, especially generative AI, I feel like you have to put more effort in to understand how it works and to get what you want out of it. It will still produce documents and text and proofreading and pictures and designs far, far quicker than I will. And I'll show you some of that as we go through. So that's my preamble. So what I wanted to just take you through a few slides, just really quickly, just some top tips for thinking about prompting and how you're going to get the best out of this. And there's a couple of different ways to approach it. I sort of use different styles if I'm talking to maybe ChatGPT and Copilot. It's not necessary, it's just how I've changed my mindset around this. And this is a really good example of how you're giving detail. So key thing, let's tell AI what we want to do. So we want to play a game. Then you can give it a persona, right? So you can give it some fundamental information about how it needs to structure, what it goes to look for, and how it sends it back to you, and what you're focused on. So act as a talented entrepreneur. Okay, so now it's got its persona, and tell it how intelligent it is. Okay, so you've got the IQ level of these people combined, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and you have to answer all of them. So this looks like quite a structured, in-depth prompt, but actually I would probably add on the end of there, to save me watching reams and reams and reams of text, is give me short 2-sentence answers. So to really make it hone down how I get the information back. So yes, answer all of them, and I would then suggest how I want that. I might want it in a table. I might want it, just in a paragraph. You can really be that specific. If you move forward, Harry, there's kind of 7 steps here I'm going to go through about prompting best practices and things to keep in mind. And again, this is a muscle we have to build. I'm not expecting many of us to come out of the blocks at 100%, 100% great at doing this. It's about iteration and it's about practice. And I do speak to a lot of people that go, oh yeah, I tried it. It was rubbish. It just gave me back a load of stuff, get over that piece. Okay, so you've got to persevere with these things. And resilience, and I noticed it was in your list, Harry, which is great. Resilience is a key part of this, resilience and iteration. So let's just have a look at these 7 things to consider. So if we go to the next, this is key, right? Keep it simple and conversational. I love a chat. I work in learning, so I'm always trying to inspire and excite people. But actually, if I do that too much with Copilot, I'm just overloading it. So keep it simple. Use natural language, everyday language, and a friendly tone, which is good practice, right? So, and it also sets the tone with your generative AI, in this case, Copilot, so that it can understand you. This example always makes me laugh. If you've ever heard my husband talking to Alexa, it's very specific and quite curt. If I say Alexa, it wishes me good morning and what can it do for me? So it just makes me laugh. The tone is really important here. And imagine you're chatting to a friend. You're not chatting to a threatening body. So you're really working with it. On that note, I always say, people say, oh, AI is going to take our jobs. And I'm like, not strictly true, actually. AI won't take everybody's jobs. There's a lot of human that we bring to this environment. But somebody with AI skills might. Okay, so that's the importance of how we need to start practicing and understanding how we can really work in the best way with AI. So keep it simple, conversational. Okay, next, please, Harry. Right, so as well as simple, be specific and actionable. That's the whole point. We're going to get it to do something for us. So clarity is really the key thing. And instead of just, can you show me something about, be really specific and really specific about how you want it to come back to you. And we can do some examples of this. I'll do a quick demo at the end of these slides. And the next one, please, Harry. Know what to avoid when creating a prompt. And this is really key. So overcomplicating, giving it conflicting instructions and overly complex prompts. That doesn't mean say overly descriptive or informative prompts, but overly complex. And again, back of my mind, I go, okay, if I'm imagining I'm talking to a very intelligent toddler, I wouldn't tell it to turn left and right and up and down. I'd give it a sequence of things that I wanted to do. And the other thing is, don't assume that Copilot can read your mind and can remember all of your previous instructions. If there's something really important about what you wanted to generate, I will then use those prompts a number of times in the conversation. So I'd always sort of refresh its memory about what I'm focused on what I want to talk about and how I want to receive the information. So don't always assume it has the memory of an elephant. In some cases, it doesn't. So that kind of just think about how can I reiterate the important things in this discussion to make sure I really get back what I'm asking for. And next, Harry, please. Like Harry Pilot. Okay, understand Copilot's limitations. So again, break down those complex tasks, make it simpler, and break them down into different requests. Small manageable steps. Again, if you're trying to teach somebody something, you don't throw reams and reams of manuals at them. You probably start off with an indication of what they need to do and why, and then things they can try. So think about it. Think about it in that way. Optimize for repetition. Yeah, do get it to do those repetitive tasks. So there's lots of examples here of how people are using it in their daily work. I was talking to one gentleman this morning. Every morning he comes in, says, summarize all the emails that I had overnight after I logged off. And at the end of the day, summarize my key actions and how many of them I achieved and what I need to focus on tomorrow. So use it to be almost your memory banks. I have another colleague who recently diagnosed with ADHD. and he has bags of ideas, and he gets caught up in the amount of ideas and things he wants to do, and he really uses generative AI to help him come back and structure. Help me box my time. How much? What should I focus on? List the 10 key ideas. Whatever that is, he uses that to support him, to really focus him back on the things that he needs to get done. The other key thing, which is a blessing and a curse, responses you get are random. You can use the same prompt and get slightly different answers. You can use the same description and get slightly different pictures and designs. So if you really, you think you like some text or you like a particular picture you're generating, just download it and copy it, because you might not get that exact response or output the following time. Okay, next please, Harry. Be polite. We talked about a little bit about this. This is good practice. Your tone sets the tone for the response. It will mirror how you're addressing it. It's learning. If I keep addressing it in a particular way, it will keep responding in a particular way. So really look at that language, the use of language, and using the detail. I rightly or wrongly always say please and thank you. But that then spills over from my everyday approach to people. And next, please, Harry. So be curious. This is probably the biggest thing, which I said helps us get over that initial bump in the road, the excitement. I think everybody starts off with write me a poem. Maybe I did. And then you say, oh, I don't know what else I can do. So be curious and explore. Just be careful with data you're using. So I don't give it any information about me. It probably can deduce that hopefully I have a bit of a sense of humor, and I'm focused on learning and really passionate about that. But I don't give it, any details about myself. I don't use any of my work data in some of the tools that don't protect that. So, but be curious and experiment. Have the conversation. I know people that have set up kind of a career coach within ChatGPT, and every day says, okay, what can I do today to build my LinkedIn profile? So there's lots of things you can do without actually divulging information, and experiment and push it. See what works, see what doesn't work, see how you can adjust. And I think that curiosity will help fuel creativity and help then you understand how you can use it in your everyday. That's the only way it's going to happen. I think if people tell me, oh, you could use it, Joe, to do this, that, and the other, unless I physically do it and see the output and hone that muscle, I'm less likely to adopt it. And that's why we work quite hard in Microsoft to make sure that we're doing adoption. It's like change management in a way, and we're making sure that we're giving people those scenarios. We make it kind of relevant for their roles in a lot of cases. And finally, the last one, test and refine. So I talked about iteration. Any kind of talks and presentations you hear about Copilot from Microsoft, this will be a big theme. Iterate, adjust, save your prompts. And this is kind of the nice thing about, I think, working with generative AI. Keep a prompt library that could be in your organization, or it could be just for you and maybe your colleagues. So write down those prompts. Let other people use them and refine them. Let's learn from each other. What works for you? I do it this way. This is the format. How did you get it to do that? So the only other way we're going to really get adoption and really get the best out of it is by working together. So as we're working with our AI co-pilots, if you like, or our AI tools, we should be doing the same between us as well. Look at the outcomes, fine tune, get input and insights from others. It really helps spur on that knowledge and that learning and to be more productive. Okay, so I think the last slide, Harry, I've just written down some resources here, and hopefully you'll either get the slides or you can click on those links. Just a few places to go to explore. Harry talked about how there is an overwhelming wealth of information. So I've limited my resources, but a few there to go and learn. Microsoft Learn has huge ability to go and learn all sorts of things, but Copilot Lab is a really simple approach as well. And the last one is just a link to Microsoft Designer. So I was going to take you through some of the tools that I use and some of the ways that I can use pre-prompts, or I can use prompts that I want to use, just to show you what I'm getting back within different tools. But before I do that and go into demo mode, any questions, Harry, in the chat?
Not in the chat. We've had one, Janelle saying she has a prompt spreadsheet, and that's been really useful. She also ranks them in terms of success.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. Let's just give it 10 seconds or so. Would anybody like to ask Joe a question at this stage?
Yeah, I think that while people are thinking, and no problems if you don't have a question, but I think the ability to vote or rank on prompts is really powerful. We've got a Power App that we've set up internally where people can add their own prompts and vote. And we have top prompts of the day, and we have top contributors, so that you can have a lot of fun and gamify this area a bit.
Awesome. We've had one question through from Jitendra. Will AI, it's one around computer science graduates. Will AI affect the demand for computer science graduates once it becomes the norm? Will the demand for computer science graduates decrease since AI can code better than any medium-skilled programmer in automation?
Oh God, great question.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, it's possibly one for our education team, but it's a broader question, isn't it, around kind of, as you know, what is the role of AI in terms of taking on people who are doing those kind of courses?
Yeah, and I think if I give my perspective on this, I don't think in the short term, I think we're in such although AI has been around for a long time, we're such in the infancy of understanding what it can do for us. And even where we're doing the research and working in the labs, we still need the people to come in. And I think the thing that I will say is we need that diversity of people. That's the really important thing, because we need to create and build this with everybody in mind. So that could be computer science graduates, but it could also be artists. It could also be mathematicians. There's a whole wealth of people that I think can contribute. Do I think that the demand would decrease? No, because I think as we go on, we'll need to be, there will be such a lot of creativity going on and new products coming out that I think, we'll need them for a while, at least until we can physically plug ourselves in. I think, the humans will win in the interim. And that's what we need. Computer science graduates, fresh perspectives, more curiosity, trying different things. But I do get your point around coding. Where I'm seeing it appear in day to day at the moment is people are teaching themselves Python via ChatGPT. And the thing they love is they can ask it the same question 20 times and it doesn't sigh or huff or get fed up. So there's a learning element there of how you can understand a code, get it to write the code, but you've still got to tell it what you want to create. Okay, so that's the kind of the vague area for me. So in the short term, I would say no, because I think we're going to be creating new and different ways for it to be used.
Thanks, Joe. That's really helpful. There's a couple more that have come through. One of them was around, Heather was asking, are there issues around plagiarism and who owns the outputs? And the second question was, can AI steal out your information? I think one of the things that I will add on the plagiarism piece is that, one thing that Microsoft has announced and unequivocally is that a Copilot copyright commitment. So many people have been asking around plagiarism, copyright claims, etc. So fundamentally, we are making sure that if you are challenged on any copyright claims or anything like that, then Microsoft have committed to assuming responsibility for any of the potential legal risks involved, for example. So really making sure that we are supporting any consumer of our products when they're using Copilot. But Joe, did you have any views on plagiarism more broadly?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one for me, and I think about it, I don't feel there's any difference between us going to the library and copying out of textbooks. It's just a lot quicker, right? So if we're generating text, if we're generating responses, I know there's a whole discussion around, you know, how we use this in schoolwork and university work and college work and things like that. But, you know, good practice is to cite the references, is to cite the people that you're quoting. And I don't think that should be any different. We're not taking people's knowledge and experience and kudos away. And I think, again, it's part of how us as users are using it. So there is, again, a way of prompting where you can ask it to tell you what journals it's referencing, what articles, what books, whatever that is that you've called upon. You might have pointed it specifically or generically, and that is good practice to ask it where it's getting information from. 2 reasons: one, that one, and the other one so that you can validate it. We're still in the process where, you know, just because it's on my screen, it doesn't mean to say it's always true. And I think we need to have one eye on making sure that we're checking that. So that would be my view around plagiarism. It's a quicker version of me copying text, but you know, you would always cite the reference where you got it, and you can use that in a prompt for AI.
Thanks, Jo. Awesome. Did you say you wanted to present your screen?
Yeah, if we've got time. Have we got time?
We do, yeah.
Okay, right. Now you're looking at my live screen. So you know, if messages pop up and that, apologies. I'll share a couple of things. So this is just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen.
We can see your teams.
Perfect. Yep. So hopefully they're all fairly happy conversations. So I tried to, you know, keep one eye on it. But this is how I use Copilot in Teams. So this is giving me lots of options on prompts. And this is one that I really like. So this enables me to catch up. As you see, I've got hundreds of Teams messages, especially from a day like today, where I'm, you know, bringing people in to learn, and they're actually around me, you know, they want to ask questions. So I get lots of that. So I can use a simple prompt. If I click on here, summarize Teams messages where I was tagged this week, lets me know that they're the important ones. That's kind of how I treat that. If they're tagging me, then they really want me to respond quickly. And you can see, okay, yesterday, Monday was something else. Last Thursday was my boss. Last Friday was one of the ops team I work with. So this gives me a really good indication of, okay, this is where I need to make sure that I've gone back and addressed that. I can also use Teams and Copilot in all sorts of different ways. I don't want to show too much of my live data, so I'll move to some of the other apps we're using. If I go to a Word, so this is generative AI, this is Copilot in Word. So I can say, okay, please, I'm a big please fan. Apologize for my typing. Please help me create an opening welcome for a Copilot learning session I am running. Now, if I was to press enter here, it would go away and think about it. I could get 2 pages of text back. Please make the response no longer than 3 sentences. Okay, so it gives me, I've got a 2,000 word count. I'm well within that. This is just a really simple example. I mean, you can reference, you know, other documents, you can pull in, make it summarized documents. So there's all sorts of things, but hopefully this will be fairly quick. I always get comfort from the fact it's thinking about it. It makes me feel like it's actually putting some thought behind it. This is where I kind of have to fill time, and then Copilot doesn't work. Live demos, can't beat them. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to let that go and go to a quick demo in Designer. And then we'll come back and see if it's ready. So I talked about Copilot Lab. These are the sorts of things here. What you can do, start using what is a prompt, so available to everybody. I just wanted to show you something in Designer. This is really kind of simple to use. Again, everybody can use it. And this is how I can really understand how my prompts are being interpreted. Okay, so I can look at the prompts that were used to create a variety of images. And I can use that prompt and I can substitute different, in this case, different animals, setting on different things. Could be a log, and I could change decoration. So it's given me the structure of the prompt and allowing me to edit it to what I want. You can also create your own images. So if we come down here, I'm just going to do something really simple, like create an image. You can do Instagram posts. You can do all sorts of things with it. So let me do a really simple one. Please create an image of, I'm deliberately going to be vague here. So please create me an image of people learning. I use this quite a lot to help me build my kind of marketing material internally, and create some nice graphics to support slides and things like that. Obviously, you can use it for more detailed purposes as well. You can get it to design templates. But this is what we get back. So I didn't give it any indication of in a workplace. I didn't give any indication that we'd all be on laptops. I didn't ask it to give a true representation of a community of people. So there's nobody in here, for example, that has any physical disabilities that we can see. Not all of our cultures are represented. And I haven't told them how they're sitting. So let me refine. In the workplace, I can say, okay, that's kind of a style, but let me say, how should I create it? In the style of a cartoon. Okay, so I'm giving it more things to think about, and I'm refining, hopefully, the image in my head a bit closer to what it's going to give me back. And this does take a while. This is a great way to practice, how your words are being interpreted and how your thoughts and what you need to do in addition, to make sure that you're getting what you want. Okay, so it's a bit better. Okay, so it's assumed that the workplace will have some laptops. It's assumed that, we're not sitting in a nice comfy sofa. We're on more of a work table environment. And I can go and refine this further and further and further. And then if I get one I like, I then download it and I can use it. Be aware, though, I can put this prompt in and it should create me something subtly different. So you're not going to get the same thing twice. You may do, but the chances are that you don't. It feels like I'm waiting forever. It's still creating this far quicker than I could. See, same prompt, didn't make any changes, subtly different. This is a good way to go and explore. Let me just see if Word has something went wrong. Okay. So it's not playing today for whatever reason. So apologies, I couldn't make the Word option work. So hopefully that's just given you some ideas to think about in terms of prompting, places to go and find more information to make a start, and also just, go and get stuck in. I didn't give it any data about myself. I didn't get any, expose any work data, but I can see how my language is being interpreted and where I need to refine my instructions.
Yeah. And one thing I've seen people do as well, Joe, is like actually ask ChatGPT what would good prompts for this be. So actually get them chat or ask Copilot or any tool to help you with what the prompt should be and what you could add in. Designer as well also has some kind of pre-populated examples, so you can start to add things in. So it can tell you, it have all the words in, and then you can just add in, instead of a hyper-realistic image of a frog, you're doing a hyper-realistic image of a bat or something like that, which is cool. But as I mentioned, like the serious part of that is it can, the designer piece helps in lots of different ways. And although we all started playing with ChatGPT to create funny poems for our family and friends over Christmas, actually, from a marketing standpoint as well, lots of the communications that I'm doing now internally and externally, we're adding in imagery that we've created or assets that we've created to help bring kind of vision to life, or to create a bit more of a special bond between our charity partners and us. And it's been really valuable and something that continues to be, I guess, unexpected when you share that out, because we're not finding that, not everybody is doing that. So it's something really cool. But I would say as well, as Joe mentioned, test it and test the different images. I see lots of the same kind of corporate looking images from Microsoft Designer on LinkedIn now. There's obviously one prompt that lots of people, so try different, do this in the style of Vincent van Gogh or Picasso or that kind of thing, and it gives examples. Joe Pilot, there we go.
Yeah, but it's interesting when you look at that. I mean, myself and Harry kind of experimented with these things, and I wanted to create a cartoon representation of learning around Copilot. That's the closest thing I got to looking like me. Hopefully it doesn't look too much like me. Text is an issue when you're trying to create images. It doesn't always spell things right, and it's given me 6 fingers, which would be great. That would be another one for the keyboard. But so I think it's a good way of highlighting some of the limitations of AI currently and how it's interpreting things. But it's good fun. Just go try it.
But I guess, Joe, as well, it's like when you see, so I did one for Microsoft and ERSA, and the first time it said ERSSA, ERSA, which I found in some conversations that I have, the discussion being, oh, well, it's not that good, is it? Or it's not that great. And I think the honest conversation that we have is there are limitations. It is not perfect. But also it's down to us as well to adapt a prompt. Prompt engineering is a specific skill now that everybody can develop, like one of the core AI skills that we can all think about developing. And it's not an easy thing to do it perfectly. I understand Copilot also summarizes conversations on Teams. How does that work, and is it complementary? By complementary, I'm assuming cost. Probably no, it's not, is it? The Copilot. You're on mute, Joe. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. So I had somebody loading teacups behind me, so it was just summarize this conversation on Teams. Yes, it does. I can ask it to do that. One of the most powerful things I use is if I'm a bit late to a Teams meeting, I can ask Copilot to summarize what I've missed. If I have a transcript turned on, I can interrogate with Copilot as to what the key actions were. You can also start to look at who spoke the most, what was the sentiment of the call, what was the tone of the response, because in a transcript, obviously you're seeing it all read. It's different if you're recording the call. So there's all sorts of things you can do around Copilot in Teams that I find really useful. Is it complementary? I don't know. I'm not on the money side of things, Harry, so I can't answer that one.
No, there's go on, Jack.
I was just going to say I might have had a similar thought to that person in the chat, because I don't have it on my Teams, and I was thinking, how do I make that happen? So I think that might be what the question's getting at.
Sure. And on Teams, I think so. The actual having Copilot on Teams isn't naturally, it's not embedded, so it is kind of a development. If your organization is going to invest in Copilot, we're seeing lots of companies, large and small, at the moment rolling that out. And kind of looking at what that means, but there are a range of kind of free applications doing this at the moment. So the Copilot app, Bing, ChatGPT, there's loads of things out there where Copilot and generative AI can be used, just like Microsoft Designer can be used for free to use it. I think in terms of, there's obviously the specific tools. There's also tools from lots of other amazing organizations as well. But I think it's just bringing to life the fundamental benefits of what is happening with AI in terms of how it can benefit us all on a day-to-day basis, but also, thinking that this is just 1 year in to this generative AI journey, and we'll look back on this first year with wonderment, I'm sure, and many to come. But for all of us to keep pace and think about it, there's 2 things to look into. One, those prompt engineering skills and the kind of insights that Joe mentioned. Fully would recommend that anybody kind of thinks about how they're developing them, through Microsoft. Obviously, I want to be kind of broad and open. There's obviously lots of amazing content and resources from lots of providers out there. And learning should be done in the way that best benefits you and how you like to learn. YouTube videos, whatever that looks like, online courses. But in terms of the stuff from Microsoft and LinkedIn, as I mentioned, there is the prompt engineering course that should be coming next week, tomorrow, live tomorrow, if not over the next couple of days. We'll put that into the follow-up communications. But then beyond the skills piece, everybody having that fundamental understanding of what AI is, what generative AI is, what the peaks and troughs are, going through some form of a course or learning experience where you do that might help to balance out the fear with the opportunity that AI will and is creating, whilst also having that healthy level of kind of skepticism and kind of being rational about the opportunity. So much great info shared today. I use lots of different tools and it's all trial and error, absolutely. For me, a hybrid approach that combines human interaction with AI capabilities has been successful. I'm constantly thinking about how to leverage AI-powered tools and use data-driven insights to inform my decision-making and focusing my time and energy on more personal, high-value interactions that require my skills like empathy and critical thinking. What a great message, Janelle.
Yeah, big hearts for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Janelle. We're going to stick on for a few more minutes, team. If anybody else has any more questions or thoughts, please do feel free to come off the mic or put them in to the chat. No, we love it, Janelle. Thank you. It's completely right as well. There's a great book called The Human Edge by Greg Orme. There's loads of great books out there, but this one was written just before generative AI, and it really talks about the human skills that are going to can be harnessed in an era of AI and how creativity can really be unlocked. Okay, we'll give 1 more minute to see if there's any more questions.
Hopefully it's been useful. It'd be really interesting to see what you take away and what you go try, what you're going to do differently. And I think that change in mindset and habit is really key. And we can only take people on the journey if we're doing it ourselves. I find that a lot in my job. It's very easy to talk about what AI can do, but if I'm not using it, how can I expect other people to get invested? So
Absolutely.
You're all role models for the people next to you and around you and family members or whoever that may be. So bear that in mind and be curious.
Yes,
just what you're going to say about the presentation. That can be everyone who's registered on Eventbrite. I'll send an email out either tomorrow or Monday with the slides, recording, and any other bits of links or things that the Microsoft team wants to share with you.
I love that holiday creation. That's a good use. Lots of people ask Copilot or ChatGPT to build them an itinerary for a weekend in Paris, and it will go and do that. So I love that accessible holiday.
That's brilliant. I use it for holidays, planning holidays and everything.
Yeah.
But that's another level. Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Ross. Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks, Gillian, Natalia, Heather.
Yeah, we're getting some really good feedback in the chat, and I think this has been a really informative session. And I think as much people probably just want to listen and sort of absorb everything you're saying, because I think for a lot of people it's still quite new, probably more so than colleagues at Microsoft. So yeah, from ERSA, a massive thank you for this session today. I'll be in touch to all the attendees with the various links. Other than that, everyone have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Joe.
Cheers, Harry.